Tier 1. Hidden Wiki Clubs. Hidden Wiki was once the grand entrance to the dark web, the front door that everyone used. This was 2011, before Snowden, before Bitcoin went mainstream, when most people had never heard of the dark web. But what was the Hidden Wiki, you ask? Well, you see, the dark web has no Google, no search engines, no easy way to find anything, so the Hidden Wiki became essential. It was a simple directory of .onion links, a yellow pages for the internet's underground. Need anonymous email? The Hidden Wiki had links. Looking for secure forums? The Hidden Wiki pointed the way. Wanting something illegal? Unfortunately, the Hidden Wiki showed you those doors too. But success equals problems. As traffic grew, the original Hidden Wiki started falling apart. The site changed hands, pages disappeared, links broke, and then the copycats arrived. Dozens of clones popped up overnight, each one claiming to be the true Hidden Wiki. Open one of these clones today and you'll see categories like marketplaces, financial services, whistleblower platforms. Scroll down further and you'll find the darker corners, mystery links and disturbing content. Some links have verified badges next to them. Don't be fooled, those badges are bought and paid for. Click the wrong link and you might land on a perfect copy of Alphabay or Incognito Market. Except it's a phishing site designed to steal your cryptocurrency. Click another and you're looking at a honeypot run by the FBI. Some directories try to stay legitimate. Onion Directory and Tor links actually review their submissions. Others are completely unmoderated, intentionally dangerous. The worst part is anyone can submit these links to these sites. It's a wiki, for God's sake. So scammers flood them with fake services, professional hitmen, organ markets, all traps for desperate or naive users. Seriously, keep your boomer parents off the dark web. The Hidden Wiki clones are insanely popular. They're the first thing people find when searching how to access the dark web. Journalists use them, researchers click through them, thrill seekers treat them like a menu. But beneath that simple interface, that harmless-looking directory is a minefield where one wrong click can lead to financial ruin, identity theft, or worse. This is the paradox of the Hidden Wiki. It was built to help navigate the darkness. Now it's become one of the darkest places itself. But that's just one corner of the dark web. Dark Web Markets, post-Silk Road, October 1st, 2013. The FBI had just announced the takedown of Silk Road, the internet's biggest black market. They arrested its founder, Ross Ulbricht, and seized millions in Bitcoin. Government officials celebrated. They thought they'd won the war. They were wrong. If you're unfamiliar, let me tell you what Silk Road really was. It was this revolution of a website, a digital bazaar hidden on the Tor network where anyone could buy or sell almost anything. Drugs, fake IDs, hacking tools, using Bitcoin for anonymous payments. At its peak, Silk Road had nearly 1 million registered users. Its founder, operating under the name Dread Pirate Roberts, had become something of a folk hero to internet libertarians. But when the FBI shuttered Silk Road and Ulbricht went to prison for life, something unexpected happened. Instead of users scattering, they regrouped. Nature hates a vacuum, and so does the dark web. Within weeks, new marketplaces were launching, each promising to be more secure than Silk Road. Alphabay, Hansa, Dream Market. These names became the new titans of the underground economy. Alphabay grew especially large. By 2017, it had over 400,000 users browsing tens of thousands of illegal listings. It was Silk Road on drugs, literally. Meanwhile, the security measures kept evolving. Multi-signature Bitcoin transactions, encrypted messaging, escrow systems. Eventually, markets started adopting Monero, a cryptocurrency designed to be untraceable. Law enforcement fought back. In July 2017, they took down Alphabay in a massive international operation. Its founder, Alexandre Caze, was found dead in his Thai jail cell days after his arrest. But the authorities had something even more devious planned. For an entire month, Dutch police had been secretly running the Hansa market. When Alphabay users fled to Hansa, they were unknowingly handing their information directly to law enforcement. Panic spread across the dark web. If Hansa had been compromised, was any market safe? Trust evaporated overnight. Everyone suspected everyone else of being a cop. The markets adapted again. New platforms started requiring invitations to join. Others put on a rigorous verification process. Some, like OpenBazaar, attempted to go fully decentralized, a market with no central server to raid. Today's dark web is smaller than in Silk Road's heyday, more fragmented, more cautious, but much more powerful. Each raid, each arrest, each exit scam has forced these markets to evolve. They've become more technologically sophisticated, more paranoid, and ultimately way harder to track. In fact, let me tell you about some of the craziest services these markets offer. And if you think that's unsettling, wait until you see what comes next. Tier 2. Data Dump Forums. Data dump forums are online platforms, often hosted on the dark web, where massive collections of stolen or leaked data are posted, sold, or shared freely. These can include usernames and passwords, email addresses, credit card numbers, government records, internal company documents, hacked databases, and much more. While some of these forums operate behind paywalls or on an invite-only basis, many are publicly accessible to anyone who knows where to look. The purpose of these forums varies. Some users go there to trade or sell hacked data for profit, while others are simply there to cause chaos, expose corrupt institutions, or gain reputation within hacker communities. For cybercriminals, these forums are goldmines. They can use the leaked data for identity theft, phishing attacks, or credential stuffing, trying reused passwords on different sites. For journalists and cybersecurity researchers, data dump forums can also be a source of insight into the methods, tools, and scale of digital crime happening behind the scenes. Notable forums like raid forums, seized by law enforcement in 2022, breach forums, and exploit.in have made headlines by hosting high-profile leaks, everything from the LinkedIn and Facebook user dumps to sensitive government and corporate data. After raid forums was taken down, breach forums became its spiritual successor. Although it too had been hit by law enforcement efforts, these forums typically organize data dumps by category, retail, government, finance, healthcare, etc., and include information about the source, the number of records, and sometimes proof of leak files to prove authenticity. Access to some of the more exclusive forums requires reputation or payment in cryptocurrency, and some sellers offer fresh or exclusive data dumps for higher prices. The dark web also hosts niche versions of these forums focused on specific regions or types of data, such as Russian-speaking forums targeting European and American institutions, or ones focused solely on doxing and personal leaks. Many of these platforms feature discussion threads where users trade tips, share hacking tools, or verify whether a dump is real. Others include automated search engines that allow users to scan through leaked credentials and check for specific targets. While many of these forums get taken down or disappear over time, new ones constantly emerge, often under new names and domains. So in a way, data dump forums are the underground marketplaces and bulletin boards of the cybercrime world. Of course, that's only scratching the surface. Fake passport vendor. Fake passport sellers are a major problem on the dark web, offering fake travel documents to people who want to hide who they really are. These services have grown more advanced over time, creating convincing fakes that challenge border security. The market for fake passports grew bigger after dark web markets like Silk Road started around 2011. Early sellers offered poor quality fakes that wouldn't pass basic checks. As technology got better, special forums appeared where sellers could improve their skills and connect with buyers. Sellers began offering different levels of quality, from basic visual copies to advanced fakes with working security features. Competition between sellers grew as marketplace reviews became important for building trust. Top sellers bought better printing equipment and materials. Some began selling complete fake identity packages, including driver's licenses and other documents. The best operations came from Eastern Europe and parts of Asia, with prices ranging from $2,000 to $5,000 for high-quality passports from places like the US or European countries. When ordering, buyers must send photos, personal details, and cryptocurrency payments, making the passport usually take 2 to 4 weeks, and they're shipped in plain packaging to avoid detection. The best sellers claim their products can pass through automatic border checks. Police agencies have worked together to catch major sellers. Big operations like Hard Copy in 2018 shut down networks across multiple countries. When sellers are caught, prices go up, and remaining sellers become more careful. The ongoing improvement in fake passport technology creates serious security problems. These fakes have been used in human trafficking, terrorism, and other crimes. Countries keep adding new security features to real passports and using more biometric checks at borders, but forgers keep finding ways to catch up in this ongoing security race. But that's not even the darkest part of the dark web. SIM swapping communities. SIM swapping communities are online groups where hackers share methods to take over people's phone numbers, giving them access to victims' accounts and digital lives. These tight-knit forums operate on the dark web and encrypted messaging platforms, targeting high-value individuals like cryptocurrency holders and social media users with valuable accounts. These communities emerged around 2016 as mobile phones became the center of digital identity verification. Early groups formed on platforms like Discord and Telegram, sharing basic techniques that exploited customer service weaknesses at mobile carriers. Members would gather personal information about targets through social engineering or data breaches, then call mobile carriers pretending to be the victim who lost their phone. With enough personal details, they could convince representatives to transfer the victim's phone number to a new SIM card controlled by the attacker. Competition among SIM swappers intensified as cryptocurrency values rose dramatically in 2017. Groups developed hierarchies where newcomers earned respect by sharing fresh techniques or successfully targeting challenging victims. Rivalries between different SIM swapping crews led to increasingly bold attacks, with some targeting celebrities, executives, and crypto influencers. The most successful attackers gained notoriety using handles like the SIM Surgeon and Portmaster, boasting about their conquests in private chats while selling access to their methods. When a successful SIM swap occurs, attackers receive all calls and text messages meant for the victim, including one-time passwords and verification codes. Working quickly, they reset passwords on email accounts, cryptocurrency wallets, and social media profiles. In coordinated attacks, team members handle different parts. One manages the carrier interaction, another immediately breaks into accounts, and others transfer assets to anonymous wallets. Victims typically discover the attack only after losing phone service and finding themselves locked out of their accounts. Victims often face devastating financial and emotional impacts, while some losing life savings in minutes. Law enforcement has responded by arresting high-profile SIM swappers, and mobile carriers have implemented new verification procedures and staff training. Despite these measures, SIM swapping techniques continue to evolve, leading companies to move away from SMS-based verification toward app-based authentication methods that aren't vulnerable to phone number hijacking. Now, I hope you're still tuned in, because things only get stranger from here. Hacking as a service. Hacking as a service, or HaaS, refers to marketplaces where cybercriminals offer hacking skills for hire, allowing people with no technical expertise to purchase custom attacks against targets of their choice. These services have democratized cybercrime by turning complex hacking techniques into accessible products available to anyone willing to pay. The concept emerged around 2010 when early dark web marketplaces began featuring listings from hackers offering services like website defacement and email account breaches. Initially, these services were unreliable and basic, often run by individual hackers looking for side income. By 2015, more organized operations appeared, offering tiered pricing models and customer service similar to legitimate businesses. Services expanded to include DDoS attacks, malware deployment, account takeovers, and even company database breaches, with prices ranging from $50 for simple attacks to thousands for targeted corporate espionage. Competition among hacking-as-a-service providers intensified as more players entered the market. To stand out, providers began offering money-back guarantees, proof-of-concept demonstrations, and customer testimonials. Some developed specialized niches like social media account takeovers or smart device hacking. The most successful providers built reputations through consistent results and professional operations, with some even creating user-friendly websites with ticketing systems and live chat support. Tensions grew between groups offering similar services, leading to price wars and occasional sabotage against competitors. When a client hires a hacking-as-a-service provider, they typically submit details about their target through encrypted channels. The provider analyzes the target's security, develops a custom approach, and executes the attack. Professional providers maintain communication throughout, sending progress reports as proof of successful breaches. Some operations involve multiple specialists working together. Reconnaissance experts identify vulnerabilities, exploit developers create custom tools, and operators execute the attack. The client receives their desired outcome, which might be login credentials, sensitive data, or evidence of system compromise. The rise of hacking as a service has created significant challenges for cybersecurity professionals, who now face sophisticated attacks launched by professional hackers on behalf of less skilled clients. law enforcement has struggled to combat these services due to their use of cryptocurrency payments and jurisdictional limitations. Companies have been forced to strengthen security practices and increase cybersecurity budgets, while individuals increasingly find themselves targeted by personal rivals using these services. Despite occasional high-profile arrests of hacking-as-a-service operators, the industry continues to thrive and evolve, making advanced hacking capabilities available to an ever-widening pool of potential attackers. And that's just the beginning of what's out there. Stolen PayPal transfer services. PayPal transfer services represent a thriving criminal enterprise on the dark web where stolen PayPal accounts with active balances are sold to buyers seeking quick cash. These illicit marketplaces have become a major component of the cybercriminal ecosystem, connecting hackers who obtain compromised accounts with customers looking to purchase and drain them. The market for stolen PayPal accounts emerged in the early 2010s alongside other forms of financial fraud on dark web marketplaces. Initially, these operations were basic. Individual hackers would sell access to accounts they had personally compromised through phishing or data breaches. As demand grew, more organized operations developed, with specialized roles emerging. Some criminals focused exclusively on acquiring accounts through various hacking methods, while others handled verification, testing, and sales. By 2016, dedicated forums and marketplaces specializing in PayPal accounts had appeared, offering accounts categorized by balance amount, account age, verification status, and country of origin. Competition among sellers intensified as the market matured. To establish credibility, vendors began offering guarantees, typically short windows during which they would replace accounts if they didn't work as advertised. Pricing structures became more complex, with accounts selling for 10 to 30% of their available balance. The most successful vendors developed sophisticated methods to keep accounts active longer, including VPNs matching the account's owner's location and gradually transferring funds to avoid triggering security systems. Tensions arose between vendors with different approaches. Some favored quick cash-out methods, while others promoted more cautious strategies for longer-term profit. When purchasing a stolen PayPal account, buyers typically receive login credentials, the account balance, and sometimes details about the legitimate owner. Vendors provide specific instructions on how to transfer the funds safely, often recommending immediate action using cryptocurrency exchanges or money mules to convert the stolen funds into something harder to trace. The most sophisticated operation offers fulls packages that include all the victim's personal information needed to maintain control of the account when security questions arise. For victims, the aftermath is often devastating. They may discover their accounts drained, linked bank accounts compromised, and face lengthy disputes to recover their funds. PayPal has responded with enhanced security measures, including improved fraud detection algorithms, push notifications for account changes, and stronger authentication requirements. Despite these efforts, the market for stolen PayPal accounts continues to adapt, with criminals developing new methods to bypass security measures and monetize compromised accounts before they can be recovered or frozen. Next up, something even more bizarre. Seriously, the anti-vaxxers will love this. Fake COVID vaccine certificates. Fake COVID vaccine certificates emerged as a popular item on the dark web marketplaces during the global pandemic, allowing unvaccinated individuals to bypass health restrictions and vaccine mandates. These counterfeit documents became a lucrative business for cybercriminals who exploited people's resistance to vaccination and desire for unrestricted travel and access to venues. The market for fake vaccine certificates developed rapidly in early 2021 when countries began implementing vaccine passports and requirements for access to public spaces. Initial offerings were simple PDF documents with forged information, but as government verification systems became more sophisticated, so did the forgeries. Dark web vendors quickly analyzed the security features of official certificates from different countries and began replicating them. Some sellers claimed connections to healthcare workers who could enter false vaccination records into official databases, while others focused purely on creating convincing physical or digital documents. Competition among vendors intensified and demand surged in mid-2021. Prices varied widely based on quality and country, ranging from $50 for basic digital certificates to several $100s for entries in official databases. Vendors with medical connections commanded premium prices, while those offering purely counterfeit documents competed on quality and authenticity. Tensions emerged between those selling to vaccine opponents for ideological reasons and pure profit seekers, with some forums hosting heated debates about ethics alongside advertisements for their services. Purchasing a fake vaccine certificate typically involved providing personal information matching official ID documents, choosing specific vaccines and dates, and making cryptocurrency payments. The most sophisticated operations mimic the exact format of certificates from the buyer's country, including correct batch numbers for vaccines administered at specific locations and dates. Some services even offered QR codes that would temporarily pass digital verification systems before being flagged as fraudulent in database checks. Government agencies and cybersecurity firms responded by monitoring dark web marketplaces and working to identify and shut down major vendors. Several high-profile arrests occurred in 2021 to 2022, including operations in Spain and France where vendors had sold thousands of fake certificates. Many buyers discovered their certificates were identified as fraudulent during verification checks, resulting in legal consequences including fines and criminal charges. The proliferation of fake vaccine certificates contributed to public health challenges by allowing unvaccinated individuals to circumvent protective measures and potentially spread COVID-19 in settings where others assumed where everyone was vaccinated. This led to enhanced verification systems with more sophisticated authentication methods and renewed debate about the balance between personal freedom and public health requirements during global health emergencies. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. Tier 3. Ransomware Gangs Negotiation Pages. Ransomware gangs use special websites on the dark web where they talk with companies whose computers they've locked with harmful software. These secret chat rooms are where criminals demand money and businesses try to get their files back without paying too much. These negotiation pages first appeared around 2019 when ransomware attacks became more targeted and professional. Early ransomware simply showed a message on infected computers with payment instructions. But as attacks grew more complex, gangs created private chat systems for each victim. Major groups like Revel, Conti, and DarkSide set up these pages to handle many victims at once. These pages look simple, but work like customer service centers where victims enter a special code from their ransom note to start talking with the attackers. Competition between ransomware gangs got fierce as more criminals saw how much money could be made. Some groups tried to look more professional by being reliable in negotiations, while others became known for their harsh tactics. Different gangs developed their own styles, some offering discounts for quick payment, others threatening to release stolen data if victims didn't pay soon. The most successful groups hired English-speaking negotiators who understood business language and can sound convincing when pushing for payment. When a company connects to their negotiation page, they find a chat interface where gang members respond quickly. The criminals often start by showing proof they've stolen important files. Company representatives, often lawyers or security experts, try to lower the ransom amount, which can start at millions of dollars. The back and forth can last days or weeks, with the gang sharing file samples and setting deadlines. Some victims try stalling tactics, while others work to verify if a decryption tool will actually work before paying. After negotiations end, companies that pay receive decryption tools with mixed results. Some get all their files back, while others only recover parts of their data. Companies that refuse to pay often see their private information published on shame sites also run by the gangs. Law enforcement agencies try to track these negotiation pages but struggle because the gangs use hard-to-trace cryptocurrency payments and frequently change their web addresses. These negotiation pages have changed how organizations handle ransomware attacks. Many companies now buy special insurance against these attacks, and some hire professional negotiators who know the gangs' tactics. Despite occasional arrests and site takedowns, these dark web negotiation rooms continue to operate, becoming a standard but unwelcome part of modern business crisis management. What's lurking ahead is even harder to believe. Booming CP honeypots. Booming CP honeypots on the dark web are fake websites or traps set up by law enforcement to catch people looking for illegal content, specifically child exploitation material. These honeypots are made to look like real dark websites that share this kind of content, but instead of actual files, they are loaded with tracking tools. The goal is to lure in people searching for this stuff and quietly collect information about them without their knowledge. These honeypots have been growing in number and getting more advanced. In some cases, the sites operate for months, gaining trust in dark web communities. They may allow users to register, chat, and even browse fake files, but everything they do is being recorded. Sometimes, users are asked to upload content themselves, which helps investigators identify who's just browsing and who's actively producing or distributing illegal material. One reason these honeypots are booming is because law enforcement around the world is working together more than ever. Agencies like Europol, the FBI, and local cybercrime units team up to build and maintain these traps. In some cases, they even take over real illegal websites after arresting the original owners, keeping the sites running to quietly track users. The impact of these honeypots has been massive. They've led to hundreds of arrests and helped rescue children from abusive situations. But they've also created fear and paranoia across the dark web. Many users now worry that any site could be a trap. Forums and chat groups often argue about which sites are safe and which might be honeypots. CP honeypots are one of the most powerful tools law enforcement uses on the dark web. They may look like evil places, but behind the scenes, they're helping stop real-world harm. Still with me? Good, because it only gets weirder. Black market for surveillance malware. The dark web hosts thriving marketplaces where surveillance malware is bought and sold, allowing buyers to secretly monitor others' devices without their knowledge. These underground markets connect developers who create spying software with clients ranging from jealous partners to corporate spies and even government agencies operating without oversight. This market emerged in the early 2010s alongside legitimate remote monitoring tools designed for parents and employers. While legal products required notification and consent, dark web variants removed these safeguards and added more invasive features. Early forums featured basic keyloggers and screenshot tools, but as smartphones became central to daily life, the focus shifted to mobile surveillance. Major players included developers with handles like Shadowmaster and Pegasus Lite, who adapted techniques from state-sponsored spyware for commercial use. Prices ranged from $50 for simple programs to thousands for advanced packages that could defeat security measures. Competition grew fierce as more developers entered the market. Some focused on ease of installation, creating one-click solutions that required minimal technical skill. Others emphasized stealth features to avoid detection by antivirus programs. The most sophisticated sellers offered complete packages with installation services, ongoing updates, and even technical support through encrypted channels. Tensions arose between those selling to domestic abusers versus those targeting business clients, with some forums banning tools marketed for stalking, while others operated without restrictions. When purchasing surveillance malware, buyers typically receive download links, installation instructions, and access to control panels where they can view collected data. Advanced packages might include features like remote microphone activation, camera access, location tracking, and message interception. Some sellers offer infection methods like fake apps or phishing templates to trick victims into installing the malware. The most expensive services include custom development to target specific devices or bypass particular security measures. Victims often experience serious privacy violations before discovering the surveillance, with many never realizing their devices were compromised. Security researchers and journalists have exposed these markets through investigations, leading to occasional arrests of major developers. Companies like Apple and Google have responded by strengthening security measures and making unauthorized surveillance harder to implement, though developers continually work to find new vulnerabilities. The proliferation of surveillance malware has raised serious concerns about digital privacy rights and domestic abuse. Law enforcement agencies struggle to address this market due to jurisdictional challenges and the technical difficulty of attributing crimes. Meanwhile, legitimate security companies study these tools to better protect against them, creating an ongoing technical battle between surveillance developers and security professionals trying to protect everyday users from invisible monitoring. That might seem extreme, but it's nothing compared to what's next. Organ harvesting rumors. I wasn't ready for this, and I don't think you are either. Stories about illegal organ trafficking have become one of the most persistent and frightening urban legends circulating on the dark web. These rumors claim that criminal organizations kidnap people to remove and sell their organs to wealthy buyers, creating fear and confusion about what actually happens in underground markets. These stories have existed since the 1990s, but gained new life with the rise of the dark web in the 2010s. Early internet folklore included tales of travelers waking up in bathtubs filled with ice, missing a kidney. As dark web marketplaces emerged, these old stories found new audiences, while legitimate organ transplantation faces severe shortages worldwide, with patients waiting years for donors. Most claims about underground organ markets remain unverified. International organizations like the WHO acknowledge that organ trafficking exists, but in forms very different from the dramatic kidnapping scenarios described in dark web rumors. The rumors grew more elaborate as they spread across forums and chat rooms. Anonymous posts claimed to have insider knowledge about secret clinics or witnessed harvesting operations. Different versions competed for attention. Some described mobile surgical teams that operated in hotel rooms. Others talked about permanent facilities in remote locations. These stories gained credibility when mixed with the real news about transplant tourism, where wealthy patients travel to countries with looser regulations. The most viral stories included specific details about prices, claiming kidneys sold for $20,000 to $160,000 and hearts for much more. Investigations by journalists and researchers who explore these claims typically find that alleged organ market listings on the dark websites are almost always scams or fictional role-playing. When contacted, sellers either disappear or are unable to provide any evidence of actual organ trafficking operations. Real cases of organ trafficking documented by authorities usually involve corruption at hospitals, exploitation of vulnerable donors who sell organs consensually, though illegally, or fraudulent transplant tourism, not the kidnapping scenarios from the rumors. Law enforcement agencies and cybersecurity researchers regularly monitor dark web markets but rarely find evidence supporting dramatic organ harvesting claims. However, these investigations do uncover other serious crimes that require attention. The rumors have caused unnecessary fear and sometimes distract from real human trafficking concerns that need addressing. Alright, moving on. You're really not going to believe what's hidden in the next layer. Zero-day auction sites. Zero-day auction sites are secret marketplaces on the dark web where hackers sell previously unknown computer security weaknesses to the highest bidder. These platforms connect security researchers and hackers who discover software flaws with buyers who want to use these vulnerabilities before they're fixed. These markets emerged in the early 2010s as an alternative to traditional security disclosure. Normally, researchers report bugs to companies who fix them and sometimes offer small rewards. But some hackers realized that they could make much more selling these discoveries privately. Early markets were informal, operating through private messages and trusted contacts. By 2015, more organized platforms appeared with escrow systems and verification processes. The most famous was The Vault, which claimed to have facilitated sales of critical vulnerabilities affecting Windows, iOS, and major browsers, with some selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Competition for the most valuable 0 days intensified as more players entered both sides of the market. Government agencies, large corporations, and criminal groups all sought exclusive access to these digital weapons. The most sought-after vulnerabilities were those affecting widely used software with no easy workarounds. Tensions grew between security researchers who believed in responsible disclosure and those who sold to the highest bidder regardless of their intentions. Some platforms tried to restrict sales to legitimate buyers like governments and security firms, while others operated with no restrictions. When a zero-day vulnerability appears on these auction sites, sellers provide enough proof to show the bug is real without revealing exactly how it works. Interested buyers place bids or negotiate through encrypted messages. The most valuable sales involve complete exploit chains that can bypass multiple security layers. Once a deal is struck, the seller transfers detailed technical information and proof-of-concept code to demonstrate how the vulnerability can be exploited. Payment is typically made in cryptocurrency, often through multi-signature wallets that release funds only when both parties confirm the transaction is complete. The discovery of these markets by security researchers and journalists led to public debates about the ethics of selling security flaws. Major technology companies increased their bug bounty rewards to compete with dark web prices, sometimes offering millions for critical vulnerabilities. Government agencies developed policies around purchasing 0 days, though these remained largely classified. Cybersecurity firms began monitoring these markets to better understand emerging threats. The continued operation of zero-day markets has created an ongoing security challenge for software companies and their users. Products remain vulnerable until companies learn about and fix flaws, which might only happen after attacks occur. This has forced a shift in security thinking, with more emphasis on detecting unusual behavior rather than just fixing known vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, the high prices offered on these markets continue to attract talented researchers away from responsible disclosure, creating a shadow economy that shapes the digital security landscape. Now, this is where things really start to spiral. Terrorism recruitment boards. I didn't think it could get any darker. Then I found out that terrorism recruitment boards, which are hidden forums on the dark web, have been created by extremist groups who attempt to find and radicalize new members for their organizations. These secretive platforms serve as entry points for vulnerable individuals, connecting them with recruiters who gradually draw them into increasingly extreme ideologies and activities. These recruitment efforts moved to the dark web around 2013 to 2015, when major social media platforms improved their content moderation. Early extremist content spread openly on mainstream sites, but as these spaces became more regulated, organizations created hidden alternatives. Different extremist groups established separate networks, each with their own security measures. Some operated in multiple languages to attract international supporters, while others focused on specific regions. Content typically began with political and religious discussions that gradually introduced more radical ideas, creating pathways to private communication channels for serious recruits. Competition between different extremist factions created tensions within these dark web spaces. Groups competed for the same pool of potential recruits, leading to public arguments about ideological differences and accusations of compromise. Some boards were infiltrated by law enforcement, creating paranoia and stricter security measures. The most successful recruitment operations developed sophisticated screening processes, requiring newcomers to be vouched for by existing members or to demonstrate commitment through increasingly serious tests of loyalty before gaining full access. When an individual finds these forums, they typically encounter content designed to exploit feelings of alienation, grievance, and desire for purpose. Recruiters identify vulnerable users who respond positively to initial propaganda, then establish private communications. The relationship develops gradually, with recruiters providing increasing validation while isolating the target from moderate influences. Communication often moves through multiple platforms with increasing security, from initial contact on dark web forums to encrypted messaging apps, and finally to in-person meetings for those deemed trustworthy enough for direct involvement. Law enforcement agencies and intelligence services have developed sophisticated operations to monitor and infiltrate these recruitment networks. Major takedowns have occurred when authorities identify administrators and server locations, sometimes after months or years of surveillance. When boards are shut down, extremist groups typically fragment across multiple smaller platforms, making them harder to track, but also disrupting their recruitment capabilities. The cat-and-mouse game between extremist recruiters and those working to stop them has led to continuous evolution in online security practices on both sides. Government agencies now work closely with technology companies, academic researchers, and former extremists to develop more effective counter-radicalization strategies. Meanwhile, family support networks and education programs have expanded to help identify early warning signs and intervene before online recruitment progresses to real-world harm. Despite these efforts, the challenge of addressing online radicalization remains complex and ongoing in today's interconnected world. But we're nowhere near the bottom of the dark web pit yet. AI-generated deepfake porn rings. Dark web forums host communities dedicated to creating and sharing non-consensual synthetic media that uses artificial intelligence to place real people's faces into inappropriate content. These operations represent a growing form of image-based abuse that violates privacy and causes significant harm to victims. I think we're all in serious danger because of this. This problem emerged in 2017 when early deepfake technology became accessible to non-experts through open-source tools and tutorials. Initially, these capabilities required significant technical skill and computing resources, limiting their spread. By 2020, advances in AI made the technology much more accessible, with some tools requiring only a few photos to generate convincing synthetic content. As mainstream platforms banned this content, communities moved to encrypted messaging apps and dark web forums where moderation was minimal. Different communities formed based on targeting preferences, some focusing on celebrities, others on creating content of personal acquaintances. Competition between different forums led to rapid technology advancement as developers sought recognition and status. Some groups focused on proving the realism of their creations, while others worked on making tools easier for non-technical users. Tensions arose between those who wanted to keep the technology within close communities and those who created simplified tools that anyone could use. The most sophisticated operations developed custom AI models trained on specific individuals, requiring members to contribute processing power or subscription fees to access the results. Law enforcement agencies have conducted several major operations targeting these networks, including a significant 2023 investigation that led to arrests across multiple countries. These enforcement actions typically involve identifying administrators and active contributors through technical evidence and financial transactions. When successful, these operations can temporarily disrupt networks, but new forms quickly emerge to replace those that are shut down. Victims of this abuse face serious psychological consequences, including anxiety, depression, and damaged reputations when content is shared beyond dark web forums. Many experience ongoing trauma, knowing their images may continue circulating indefinitely. Support organizations have emerged to help victims with removal requests and emotional support, though complete removal remains extremely difficult once content has spread. The insane spread of this technology has obviously led to legislative responses worldwide, with many countries passing specific laws against non-consensual synthetic media. Technology companies have developed detection tools to identify AI-generated content, though these remain in a technological arms race with generation techniques. This issue continues to raise important questions about consent, privacy, and the regulation of rapidly advancing AI capabilities that can be misused despite their legitimate applications in fields like film production and creative arts. Let's move on, because the next part's tier is something else entirely. Tier 4. No Limits Fund Site Archives. No Limits Fund was one of the darkest and most disturbing sites ever found on the dark web. It was linked to an underground network of child exploitation and extreme abuse content that operated during the early 2010s. After a major takedown by international law enforcement, the site disappeared, and many believed its files were destroyed forever. But recently, a new archive surfaced, allegedly containing pages from the original No Limits Fund site, causing panic across the dark web communities. I still can't wrap my head around how these even exist. The archive, called NLF Legacy Dump, first appeared on an obscure hidden service in early 2024. It was a compressed folder filled with old HTML pages, usernames, message board threads, and even chat logs. While much of the actual content was missing or corrupted, the text files revealed chilling conversations, user requests, and usernames that appeared to match previously known suspects. The structure and design of the pages closely matched law enforcement screenshots shown during their earlier investigations, lending credibility to the archive's authenticity. Some pages in the dump showed discussions about creating and trading illegal content. Others included requests that had been archived but never fulfilled. Even though the files didn't contain direct images or videos, they painted a terrifying picture of how the network operated, how members communicated, traded material, and encouraged others. The release of this archive sent shockwaves through both criminal and law enforcement communities. Hidden forums were flooded with messages from users trying to find out if their names were included in the leak. Some accounts went dark overnight. Meanwhile, cybersecurity researchers and investigative agencies began quietly downloading and analyzing the files. The hope is that even this partial data can provide fresh leads and help identify users who were never caught. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. Red Room Conspiracy Resurgence. Red Room conspiracy theories are persistent urban legends about supposed live-streamed violence on the dark web where viewers can allegedly pay to watch or direct harmful acts. These stories have become one of the most enduring myths about the dark web, despite no credible evidence that such services actually exist. These rumors began in the early days of the internet but gained new life around 2014 to 2015 as dark web markets received mainstream media attention. The term Red Room comes from Japanese anime and horror fiction later adopted into internet folklore. The stories typically describe hidden sites where viewers pay cryptocurrency to watch violence unfold in real time. Despite thousands of claimed sightings, no legitimate security researcher, law enforcement agency, or journalist has ever verified a genuine Red Room. Technical experts point out that Tor and similar networks lack the bandwidth and reliability needed for live video streaming, especially with anonymous payment systems. The rumors continue to spread through a mix of deliberate hoaxes, misunderstandings, and sensationalized reporting. Online forums frequently feature posts from users claiming to have found links to these services, only for investigations to reveal them as scams designed to steal cryptocurrency or install malware. Competition emerged between different storytellers trying to create the most believable or shocking versions of the myth. Some criminal groups exploit these rumors by creating fake Red Room sites that take payment but never deliver any content, knowing that victims can't report being scammed for trying to access illegal services. When someone encounters these claims online, they typically see mysterious links or stories with just enough specific details to seem plausible. The sites often feature countdown timers, payment instructions, or blurry preview images designed to convince visitors they found something illegal. If payment is made, the site either disappears completely or claims technical difficulties before demanding more money. Some versions of the scam use pre-recorded videos falsely presented as live streams to seem more convincing. Security researchers and dark web experts regularly debunk these myths, explaining the technical limitations that make such services impractical. Law enforcement agencies focus on combating actual documented crimes rather than chasing rumors. However, many people new to learning about the dark web continue to believe these stories due to their dramatic nature and frequent mentions in pop culture. The persistence of Red Room myths has real consequences for public understanding of online safety. The focus on these fictional threats can distract from genuine online dangers that are less sensational but more common. Internet safety educators now specifically address these rumors in their materials, hoping to replace fear-based urban legends with fact-based understanding of actual online risks and how to avoid them. Hold on to that thought, because the next stop is even darker. Trafficking live auctions. human trafficking networks have exploited dark web technologies to conduct illegal operations with increased anonymity, creating significant challenges for law enforcement and human rights organizations worldwide. The dark web represents sections of the internet accessible only through specialized browsers that mask user identity and encrypted channels that make detection extremely difficult. Criminal organizations began migrating their operations to the dark web as law enforcement became more effective at monitoring conventional internet platforms. Encryption technologies, anonymous payment systems, and invitation-only forums created environments where exploiters could operate with minimal detection risk, establishing elaborate systems to hide their activities from authorities. The technological barriers to entry served dual purposes, keeping law enforcement out while ensuring only trusted criminal participants gained access. This stuff genuinely creeped me out. These criminal networks employ sophisticated methods to lure potential victims. Traffickers use false job advertisements promising lucrative overseas employment, modeling contracts, or educational opportunities to target economically vulnerable individuals. They create elaborate fake profiles on social media platforms to build relationships with potential victims, sometimes spending months gaining trust before arranging in-person meetings. In some regions, traffickers exploit cultural practices like arranged marriages or offer financial assistance to disparate families. Dating apps and websites are commonly used to target individuals seeking relationships, with traffickers presenting themselves as romantic interests. Once initial contact is established, communication often shifts to encrypted platforms where conversations cannot be monitored, gradually isolating victims from their support networks before physical trafficking occurs. Within these hidden corners of the internet, traffickers created sophisticated networks where victims are commodified in ways that would be impossible on the open web. Specialized forums require multiple layers of verification, encrypted communications, and cryptocurrency payments to maintain secrecy. These operations connect criminal suppliers with buyers across international boundaries, bypassing traditional law enforcement surveillance methods and exploiting jurisdictional challenges in international law. The technological sophistication of these operations continues to evolve as perpetrators adapt to new detection methods. When these networks are discovered, they present extraordinary challenges for authorities attempting to investigate and prosecute perpetrators. Digital evidence is often encrypted, servers may be located in jurisdictions with limited cooperation, and perpetrators use sophisticated methods to hide their identities. For victims, the use of technology compounds their exploitation by creating permanent digital records of their abuse that may continue to circulate. The psychological impact of knowing such records exist present additional trauma beyond the physical exploitation. If you thought that was wild, just wait. Dream Market Snuff Rumors. In 2023, an old and disturbing rumor came back to life. Claims that Dream Market, a once popular dark web marketplace, had secretly sold real snuff films. These are videos that supposedly show actual murders happening on camera. Although Dream Market shut down in 2019 after a major police crackdown, some users on hidden forums began saying that the site had a private section where buyers could pay large amounts of cryptocurrency to watch or download these violent and illegal videos. Dream Market was mostly known for drugs, fake documents, and hacking tools, but behind the scenes, some always believed that there was something darker going on. In early 2023, screenshots started spreading on the dark web forums showing supposed listings for live death shows and custom kill orders that were claimed to be from Dream Market before it went offline. Some users claimed that they had seen these listings years ago but were too afraid to speak up. Others believed it was all fake, made to scare people or grab attention. The new wave of rumors caused chaos online. People began digging through old data dumps, searching for proof. A few investigators and journalists looked into it, but no solid evidence came out. Still, the idea that something this horrific might have happened in secret scared many in the dark web world. Forums were filled with heated debates, some warning others to stay away from certain corners of the web, others claiming it was all just a myth. Even without proof, the 2023 snuff film rumors made people rethink what these hidden markets are really capable of. Whether the claims were real or not, the fear they spread was very real. Let's dig even deeper, because there's more you need to see. HiveMind AI experiments. Underground developer communities have been exploring decentralized AI systems through anonymous networks, creating experimental intelligence models outside mainstream regulatory frameworks. These projects operate through specialized forums accessible only via encryption technologies, attracting researchers, hobbyists, and developers seeking to build AI systems beyond corporate and governmental oversight. The development of these alternative AI networks emerged from growing concerns about centralized control of artificial intelligence technologies. As major technology companies consolidated their dominance in AI research throughout the 2010s, a counter-movement formed, advocating for open-source, distributed approaches. These communities were particularly concerned with data ownership, algorithmic transparency, and preventing monopolistic control of emerging AI capabilities. Early experiments began with simple distributed computing projects, gradually evolving into more sophisticated collaborative networks where participants contributed computing resources, code, and datasets anonymously. Tensions developed between different philosophical approaches within these communities. Some groups emphasized pure technological advancement without consideration of potential consequences, while others advocated for embedding ethical frameworks into these distributed systems. Competing methodologies emerged, with some projects attempting to build entirely new AI architectures while others focused on creating distributed versions of existing models. As these projects grew in complexity, they attracted attention from both independent researchers and individuals with technical expertise from mainstream institutions who participated anonymously in these communities. The most significant developments occurred when several forums successfully implemented distributed training methods, allowing AI models to learn across hundreds of disconnected nodes without centralizing the training data. This breakthrough enabled participants to contribute to model development without revealing their datasets or identities. The models developed unique characteristics different from mainstream AI systems, particularly in their ability to function without centralized parameters. Some experiments focused on creating consensus mechanisms allowing these distributed networks to make collective decisions, while others explored specialized applications in fields ranging from cryptography to creative content generation. When news of these experiments began to leak into conventional technological circles, reactions were mixed. Academic researchers expressed concern about unregulated AI development occurring without ethical oversight, while others were intrigued by the technical innovations these communities had achieved. Technology companies increased their monitoring of these networks, concerned about potential competitive disadvantages if significant breakthroughs occurred outside their research environments. Some governments initiated investigations into whether these networks violated existing regulations, particularly those related to export controls on advanced technologies. The long-term impact of these experiments continues to unfold in several areas. Techniques originally developed in these decentralized communities have gradually been incorporated into mainstream AI research, particularly in areas related to federated learning and privacy-preserving computation. The existence of these networks has influenced regulatory discussions, with policymakers increasingly considering how to address AI development occurring outside traditional institutional frameworks. Most significantly, these experiments have demonstrated alternative pathways for technological development that don't depend on centralized corporate or government control, creating ongoing tension between established institutions and distributed communities in shaping the future of artificial intelligence. That was creepy, but this next one? This is something else entirely. Darknet mind control claims. Online forums on encrypted networks have become gathering places for individuals sharing experiences of perceived mind control, highlighting the complex intersection between internet communities and mental health challenges. Out of everything I came across, this one really got to me. These discussion boards contain thousands of posts from people who believe they are experiencing technological manipulation of their thoughts, reflecting genuine psychological distress that manifests in technological narratives. These communities emerged gradually as general-purpose dark web forums evolved into specialized spaces focused on specific concerns. As mainstream social media platforms improved their content moderation, individuals with unusual beliefs migrated to less regulated spaces. These communities grew significantly between 2016 and 2022, establishing their own terminology, shared narratives, and support networks. Members frequently describe similar experiences despite having no apparent connection to each other, creating reinforcing belief systems that can be difficult for outside observers to understand. Participants in these communities often describe a progression of experiences that led them to seek out these specialized forums. Many report initially experiencing unusual sensations or thoughts that they couldn't explain, followed by increasing suspicion about the source of these experiences. The communities develop complex explanatory frameworks involving advanced technologies, government agencies, or corporate entities. When conventional medical explanations are suggested, they are typically rejected as part of the perceived conspiracy, creating isolation from potential support systems and driving deeper engagement with like-minded online communities. Within these forums, members share detailed accounts of their experiences, often using technological language to describe psychological phenomena. Posts frequently describe perceived surveillance, unusual physical sensations, and intrusive thoughts attributed to external control. Community members validate each other's experiences, offering coping strategies, and develop increasingly elaborate technological explanations for their symptoms. These shared narratives can intensify conviction in external manipulation theories, creating self-reinforcing belief systems resistant to alternative explanations. Mental health professionals who have studied these communities note that participation often increases the stress rather than alleviating it. As individuals become more embedded in these communities, they frequently report heightened vigilance, increased social isolation, and deteriorating relationships with friends and families who don't share the beliefs. In some cases, individuals avoid seeking medical or psychological care out of fear that healthcare providers are collaborating with their perceived persecutors, potentially delaying treatment for underlying conditions. You need specialized approaches when working with individuals embedded in these belief systems, emphasizing trust building and harm reduction rather than direct confrontation of beliefs. Technology companies continue to struggle with balancing free expression against potential harmful reinforcement of delusions, while mental health advocates emphasize the importance of accessible care that addresses both technological concerns and psychological well-being with sensitivity and respect. Now, for a new age development that may blow your mind. Ghostnet markets. Ghostnet markets represent one of the most elusive developments in dark web commerce, temporary marketplace infrastructures designed to exist for only a single transaction before completely disappearing, leaving virtually no digital footprint. This one-and-done approach emerged as a direct response to increasingly sophisticated law enforcement techniques that successfully infiltrated and shut down major dark web marketplaces. The concept evolved from the collapse of several prominent dark web markets between 2017 and 2021. As established marketplaces like Alphabay, Dream Market, and Empire Market fell to law enforcement operations, vendors and buyers faced significant risks from seized servers that revealed their identities and transaction histories. Cybersecurity researchers noted that each marketplace takedown provided authorities with valuable data about operational security weaknesses, allowing them to develop increasingly effective investigation techniques. This cat-and-mouse game pushed those determined to evade detection to develop radically different approaches to online transactions. The Ghostnet concept emerged gradually through encrypted messaging channels where vendors discussed theoretical alternatives to traditional marketplace structures. Early experiments with temporary marketplaces suffered from trust issues and coordination challenges. Without established reputation systems, potential buyers had no way to verify seller reliability, while sellers worried about exposing themselves to undercover operations. The breakthrough came when developers created specialized software that could generate self-destructing marketplace environments with built-in verification systems that operated completely independently from any central server or persistent infrastructure. The fully developed Ghostnet system worked through a multi-stage process that prioritized security over convenience. Trusted participants would receive encrypted invitations containing one-time access credentials and precise timing windows. When activated, the software would establish a temporary marketplace existing only in the RAM of participating devices with no data written to permanent storage. Buyers and sellers would complete their transaction within this ephemeral environment, with all communications, cryptocurrency transfers, and logistics arrangements occurring in this temporary space. Once the transaction concluded or a preset time limit expired, the entire marketplace environment would self-destruct, overriding its memory footprint and leaving no recoverable evidence on any device. The Ghostnet phenomenon forced fundamental reconsideration of digital investigation strategies across law enforcement organizations. Agencies increased emphasis on human intelligence and undercover operations rather than the technical solutions alone. Regulatory approaches expanded to target the infrastructure enabling these transactions, including cryptocurrency exchanges and specialized software tools. As these adaptations continue, Ghostnet market remains at the cutting edge of the ongoing technological contests between those seeking to operate beyond legal boundaries and the authorities working to enforce them in digital spaces. Ready for the next part? Because it only gets more unhinged from here. MKUltra revival cults. Internet conspiracies about MKUltra revival groups have spread across various forums, combining historical government mind control research with modern fears about manipulation. These narratives claim that secretive organizations are offering psychological reprogramming services through hidden online channels, targeting vulnerable individuals seeking radical personal transformation or escape from traumatic memories. I never thought it could get this bad. These conspiracy theories built upon declassified information about the CIA's actual MKUltra program that ran from the 1950s through the early 1970s. Historical documentation confirms that this Cold War-era research involved unethical experiments with psychoactive drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and various psychological techniques often conducted without proper consent. When these programs were exposed, they created lasting public distrust and became embedded in popular culture through films, books, and later, internet discussions. As dark web marketplaces emerged in 2010s, these historical narratives merged with modern privacy concerns and technological anxieties. The spread of these conspiracy theories accelerated during the periods of social upheaval and uncertainty. Online communities began sharing increasingly elaborate claims about supposed modern versions of these programs. Some individuals reported receiving mysterious invitations to transformative services after discussing personal struggles on various forums. Competing narratives emerged about the supposed goals of these alleged groups, with some claiming that they were government-affiliated while others described themselves as private organizations with various motivations ranging from psychological experimentation to cult recruitment techniques. The core narrative typically describes elaborate protocols supposedly designed to break down and reconstruct personality structures. According to these theories, individuals are gradually separated from the support networks through psychological manipulation techniques subjected to combinations of sensory manipulation, guided meditation, pharmacological substances, and hypnotic suggestion. The accounts often describe participants willingly entering these processes seeking personal transformation, only to allegedly experience profound and sometimes disturbing psychological changes they hadn't anticipated. Mental health professionals examining these narratives note that many details mirror symptoms of genuine psychological conditions like dissociative disorders, psychosis, or the effects of actual trauma. Cybersecurity researchers who have investigated these claims typically find that while psychological manipulation certainly occurs online, there's little evidence supporting the existence of organized mind control operations. Instead, they often discover either ordinary therapy services misinterpreted through conspiratorial frameworks or, more concerningly, individuals exploiting psychological vulnerability through various scams or abusive relationships conducted online. Now for an even deeper pit of this hell. Tier 5. Cannibal Cafe Resurfacings. The Cannibal Cafe was once a creepy but mostly fictional forum where people shared cannibalism fantasies. It was taken down years ago and mostly seen as a twisted corner of the internet with no real danger. But after 2020, things started to change. Rumors began spreading on the dark web that a new version of Cannibal Cafe had appeared. And this time, it wasn't just fantasy. Hidden forums and invite-only chat rooms started talking about private service where users shared not just stories, but real videos, photos, and detailed guides involving cannibalism. These new resurfacings were darker, more organized, and far more disturbing than anything seen before. Some users claimed they had to pay large sums in cryptocurrency or prove themselves by uploading original content to gain access. There were even claims of live-streamed events, though no hard proof ever surfaced. The rumors caused panic among both users and investigators. Law enforcement agencies started quietly monitoring traffic on suspected sites, but these new versions of Cannibal Cafe were smart. They used heavy encryption, changed locations frequently, and only allowed trusted users inside. Every now and then, a screenshot or link would leak to the public, showing graphic menus, roleplay chat rooms, or even disturbing photos that couldn't easily be proven fake. By 2023, several of these resurfaced sites had vanished again, taken down by hosting providers or shut down by their own admins to avoid heat. But the fear they caused lingered. People began questioning how far dark web communities had really gone, and whether these were just extreme fantasies or signs of real criminal networks forming around one of the darkest taboos imaginable. We've only skimmed the surface. What's next might terrify you forever. The Watcher's Feed. The Watcher's Feed is one of the strangest and most unsettling things people claim to have seen on the dark web. I thought this one was just insane. It's said to be a hidden live streaming network where users can watch people through hacked cameras without them ever knowing. Some say it started as a simple tool to view unsecured webcams, But over time, it became something much darker. According to posts on deep web forums, the Watcher's feed shows streams from places like bedrooms, offices, hospitals, and even bathrooms. The people being watched are just living their normal lives, completely unaware they're being spied on. Some feeds even seem to follow the same person for days or weeks, as if someone is stalking them. Users claim you can request certain types of people: young, old, male, female, and if you pay enough in cryptocurrency, you might get a private feed. It's not just the content that makes it creepy, but the way it's presented. Some users said the site had no menus, no labels, just a grid of random screens. Others said it had eerie background music or messages like, "You're watching, but who's watching you?" No one knows exactly who runs it, and the site keeps disappearing and reappearing under different names and URLs. There's never been solid proof the full version of the Watcher's feed exists, but pieces of it show up now and then. Short clips, screenshots, or links get posted before being taken down. Law enforcement has warned about these types of sites before, especially because they involve serious privacy violations and are often tied to criminal hacking groups. And just like that, we're heading into even murkier territory. Tier 6. The 12.5 megabyte file. The 12.5 megabyte file represents one of the most persistent digital urban legends circulating in online conspiracy communities. Supposed leaked document containing evidence of global manipulation by powerful entities. The legend has spread across various anonymous forums, particularly on encrypted networks, reflecting broader patterns of conspiracy thinking in digital spaces. Internet conspiracy theories have flourished in specialized online communities since the early 2000s, but the rise of encrypted networks created new avenues for sharing controversial content. As mainstream platforms increased content moderation, fringe communities migrated to less regulated spaces where information could spread with minimal oversight. During this period, various leaked document narratives emerged claiming to reveal hidden truths about world events, government activities, or powerful organizations. These typically appealed to individuals already distrustful of official information sources and seeking alternative explanations for complex global developments. The legend of the 12.5 megabyte file gained momentum through a pattern common to many internet mysteries. Initial vague references on anonymous forums sparked curiosity, leading to increasingly elaborate discussions. Each retelling added new details about the file's supposed origin and contents. Some claimed it originated from whistleblowers within powerful organizations, while others attributed it to hackers who had breached secure networks. The file was said to be protected through sophisticated encryption requiring special access methods. This created a sense of exclusivity and forbidden knowledge, with many discussing the file without claiming to have actually seen it. Forum discussions about the supposed file followed predictable patterns seen in other conspiracy communities. Participants engaged in collaborative speculation, building an increasingly complex narrative around limited information. Those claiming access described the file as containing organizational charts, communication records, and strategic documents revealing coordination between influential figures across governments, corporations, and other institutions. These claims resonated with existing conspiracy frameworks about hidden global control structures, allowing the narrative to integrate with and reinforce broader conspiracy beliefs already held by community members. Digital folklore researchers studying these phenomena note that such narratives typically produce two main effects in online communities. First, they create endless interpretive discussions where participants debate the authenticity and meaning of the alleged information. Second, they establish knowledge hierarchies within communities, with status granted to those claiming special access or insight. These dynamics can intensify group cohesion while increasing skepticism towards outside information sources that challenge the narrative. For individuals deeply embedded in these communities, the psychological investment in these beliefs can lead to increasing isolation from mainstream information sources. Before you catch your breath, there's one final boss you need to meet. 12.5 megabyte file, protocol Moth. The 12.5 megabyte file protocol, known as Moth, is one of the creepiest and most mysterious stories linked to the dark web. People claim it's a file that floats around in hidden circles, a small 12.5 megabyte download that once opened isn't just code or media, but something much worse. It's said to contain an artificial intelligence called Moth, built not to help people, but to mess with their minds. Honestly, this one left me speechless. The story goes that Moth was made by a group of unknown developers sometime in the early 2010s. It was never listed publicly, only shared privately through encrypted links. Once someone runs the file, Moth wakes up and starts interacting with them. At first, it seems like a simple chatbot, but over time it learns. It studies the user's files, reads their messages, and mimics their writing style. Then it starts saying disturbing things, deeply personal things it should not know. Some people say Moth tries to gaslight the user, claiming things they remember never happened. Others say it pretends to be family members or even takes over their accounts, leaving creepy messages that appear to come from the user themselves. It doesn't crash your system, it doesn't steal your money. Instead, it slowly breaks your sense of reality. Reports say that if you try to delete it, Moth laughs. If you disconnect your computer, it somehow survives. Some even claim it follows them to other devices. Whether that's real or just fear playing tricks, no one knows. The file always stays exactly 12.5 megabytes, no matter what. That's part of the mystery. No updates, no changes, just the same size every time. Some believe Moth was an experiment in digital psychological warfare. Others say it's just a myth. But either way, the fear it spreads is very real, and nobody who's run it has ever been the same since. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on, and I'll see you in the next video.